Welcome to Goals Premier League betting show. We'll be running through the biggest 5 games of the weekend. I'm joined here by Jim Knight, our betting expert, our guru. We're going to kick off with a look at last week's tips, and it's safe to say that it was an unpredictable weekend.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a bookie benefit last week, wasn't it? Both teams to score landed in the Chelsea-West Ham game, but that was their only winner. I think Everton missed a couple of very presentable chances to land the bigger price in the Merseyside derby. But we go again this week, and hopefully we'll have a bit more success on the tipping front.
Yeah, we'll kick off with the first game of the weekend, which is Southampton-Chelsea.
It is.
Two teams. Well, Southampton have a lot to play for. Chelsea, their season's dying down a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, they're both bottom 5 teams in the form chart. If you take the last 8 games, which is kind of the generally accepted kind of form, it gives you a couple of months worth of data normally. Chelsea are very difficult to price up, I think, for bookmakers at the moment. I was quite surprised by the odds, so I'll just run through them quickly for you. Southampton are 100 to 30 here, the draw's 13 to 5, and Chelsea are a shade of odds on, which is 10 to 11, which is quite big for Chelsea away to a relegation threatened team. I think I was
second bottom.
Yeah, I was looking back at the historical data for this. You'd expect this to be a lot shorter, kind of 1 to 2 kind of level. Very much banker, ACCA material, I think. But with it being the first game, I think people will think twice about that.
Yeah.
Because of the fact, the lack of motivation, they're not sure. The performances haven't been brilliant, have they, for a few weeks?
Not really.
The uncertainty about Antonio Conte. Whether he's going to be there or not next season. So I think it's quite a difficult game for punters, this one.
I mean, only one Premier League win between them in their last 5 games each. Which is
if it was possible for both teams to lose, I think this would be a candidate for that, to be honest.
So what's your tip for this one?
I like over 2.5 goals. So 8 of Chelsea's last 11 matches have gone overs. Over this line, so it's 19 to 20, so again it's just a shade of odds on, but I'd rather take the 19 to 20 than the 10 to 11 on Chelsea to win away. It's not that I'm hugely inspired by Southampton, I'm just not convinced by the defence of either team. Charlie Austin is back. He came back to scupper our Arsenal -1 last week with that equaliser that obviously Arsenal eventually won 3-2, but came off the bench to score. He scored. He's still Southampton's top goal scorer. He's been out injured for about 5 months this season. He's got 7 goals, 5 of which have come at St Mary's, so he likes playing there. He scores the vast majority of his goals there this year. And Southampton have scored in 10 of 16 home Premier League games, so they are capable of getting on the score sheet, and I just think it could be a bit of a shootout between two teams that kind of... I think Southampton are still scrapping, as you say, so they've still got plenty to play for, but I just can't bring myself to back them at kind of 100 to 30 level to beat an elite, a relatively elite top 4 team in Chelsea. I know they're not going to finish top 4 this year, but they certainly should be still considered that way, I think, to some degree. And they've got the attacking weapons to expose a Southampton team that have been pretty poor for the vast majority of the campaign. So that's the way I think we go here.
While Chelsea's season is petering out and it's very unimpressive, on the opposite end of the spectrum you've got Liverpool, who are finishing in a flying form, aren't they?
They are, yeah, and obviously buoyed by a midweek win, back-to-back wins over Manchester City. That's 3 times they've beaten them in all competitions this season now, which is incredible. We think about that a few weeks ago before they won the first of those games. We were talking about Manchester City going the campaign unbeaten. The bookies were running for cover, I think, because a lot of people had put that bet on that Manchester City would go unbeaten. So yeah, Liverpool are red hot favourites. They're 1 to 4. The draw's 5 to 1. And Bournemouth 10 to 1 outsiders for this one at Anfield. Liverpool won 4-0 in the reverse fixture, so again they've got the kind of hex on Bournemouth a little bit, and I don't think Bournemouth had performed particularly well against top 4 teams this year. However, since the turn of the year, their games have averaged 3.5 goals a game. Bournemouth, they're very kind of open, drawn the last 2-2, so goals at both ends. Both teams to score has landed in 11 out of the last 12 Bournemouth games, so they score, but they're also not to be trusted defensively as well, which kind of brings me towards the bet for this one. Over 3.5 goals. It's one of those that's landed in 42% of Liverpool's Premier League games this year. And although it is, again, a shade of odds on 19 to 20, it's one of those games that just screams goals, because you've got plenty of goal scorers on both sides. You look at how adept Liverpool have been at putting teams away this season, but you don't trust them defensively. That partnership of, even though they've brought in Virgil van Dijk, it's not stopped them really leaking too many goals. They don't concede that many at home, but Bournemouth are one of those teams that I think I could trust to get on the score sheet. But also, this bet covers you for that 4-0 win as well. If Liverpool do go out and win 4 or 5, this covers you as well without having to get involved too much in a short price like you would on the Liverpool win.
And we're expecting the big 3 to be back for this weekend of Mane, Salah and Firmino.
2 of them on the score sheet midweek as well, which bodes well. Salah didn't have a whole lot to do than round the keeper and put the ball in the back of the net. But you know, if Klopp's seen fit to start him in that game, hopefully that means that minor groin complaint that we touched upon last week is done now. And to be honest, Liverpool played the second half of that Manchester City game at half speed. I think both teams did. They just went through the motions. Once it was 1-1, I think City had given it up. So I'm not too concerned about the fatigue thing. I would have been a little bit more concerned about that had Liverpool had a harder game and
extra time.
Exactly, or scraps until the very end. But both teams it was almost like a shaking hands on a draw in cricket, wasn't it? You just kind of go home a day early. Everybody knew what the result was from a qualification point of view, and that's all that really mattered. And
on the other end of that defeat was Man City, who have the late kick-off on Saturday.
Good segue, isn't it? Yeah, good segue. They've thought about this perfectly. City won the reverse 4-1 at the Etihad, but Tottenham have made Wembley a bit of a fortress after some initial jitters. And City have got an amazing record. You know, they've been incredible this year, but you know, Spurs have been brilliant, and they've won 6 of the last 8 matches. They're top of that form table. They've got Harry Kane back. He's in flying form. He's doing everything he can to try and catch Mo Salah in the.
Even trying to steal some goals.
He's 5 to 6 to score any time. So the bookies are firmly in his camp this weekend. Although 5 to 6 is still a very backable price. If you want to get on board with him. He scored 11 first goals this year, which is tied with Salah for the most, other than Jamie Vardy, who's got 12. So, you know, and Spurs have beaten United, Liverpool and Arsenal at home this year, so their home record is exceptional. Tottenham are 6-4 to win the match. The draw's 13-5, and Man City is 7-4, so they're outsiders for this game. It's been a while since I think they were probably outsiders for a game.
3 defeats in a row will do that, I think.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it's difficult to know exactly how they're going to be feeling, because the morale must be a little bit low. Sounds ironic to say about a team that are going to win the league at a canter this year. But you know, Tottenham are no pushovers. They've shown their capability of beating teams, even elite teams this year. They still have got plenty to play for. Harry Kane normally finishes the season like a train.
Always.
So I think it's more just a case of siding with the form team here, the ones that are going to be coming into this game fresh. Obviously no European football for them to worry about midweek. Manchester City have had that. They'll probably be a bit deflated. The defeat to Manchester United last week means that they can't win the title this week unless the results really go against them. So it's likely to take 2 more wins to get that over the line. So yeah, I think Tottenham at 6-4 probably a bet, to be honest. I think we could look back on that and say it's a decent price and get stuck in.
We have an enhanced offer as well for this game.
We do,
So this week's double bet new customer offer is 5-1 for Spurs and Man City to both score.
Yeah, so it was 1-2. We've enhanced it for new customers to 5-1. It's a £5 max bet, new customers only. Obviously, if you're 18 plus and based in the UK, you can sign up for a double bet account and take that up, and any kind of stake above the £5 maximum on that will be paid at the normal odds. But it's a good opportunity to get a short price on side. The bookies expect plenty of goals, hence the reason it's 1-2. So
great
the opportunity to take 5-1 is it's a chunky new customer offer. So again, we'll be watching that one from behind the sofa, the double bet sofa. I think hoping that at least one team fails to land. But yeah, if you fancy that, go and take us up on
it. You can click the link in the description if you're watching on YouTube, or you can click the pinned comment if you're watching on Facebook.
All the terms and conditions will be there for you as well, so make sure you give those a read.
Moving on to our next game, which is Newcastle against Arsenal.
It is your team.
My team.
2 featured matches in a week.
3 wins in a row for us, which is unprecedented. I think the last time we got 4 wins in a row in the Premier League, at least, was under Pardew in August 2014.
How his stock has fallen since.
It's quite a topsy-turvy little world.
Yeah, what a fall from grace.
Arsenal's away form is just terrible.
I mean, you know, we were talking earlier, I don't think any team has won a fewer percentage points away from home.
24% of their overall points in the league are away from home.
It's crazy. I mean, obviously part of that is down to the fact they're exceptional at home. And we were talking about their flat track bully tendency against teams that are lower down in the league. They've been very, very good at home, and obviously they extended that with that 3-2 win against Southampton. But you can't trust them away from home. You really can't. And at 11-10, I just can't. I had to find an angle to oppose them. And to be honest, with Newcastle, it's quite an easy thing to do, coming off the back of 3 wins, probably playing some of the best stuff you have all season.
Attacking wise, definitely.
You know, and almost safe now. You know, Rafa Benitez wasn't willing to quite commit to that.
40 points is what he wants.
Yeah, exactly. And win this, and they would be on that 41 through that magic 40-point mark. They're 13-5 Newcastle if you fancy them to turn Arsenal over, which I think will be popular. And 5-2 on the draw. Arsenal are playing in Moscow on the Thursday night as we record, so we don't know how they've got on. Obviously, coming back from Russia for a Sunday kickoff is difficult. It's a long flight and time difference. I know football's travelling style these days, but it's one of those where it's never good preparation, I don't think. Obviously, they're very comfortable in the tie, 4-1. Going into the match,
but that's the priority, isn't it?
Absolutely, and let's be honest, they've won 3 of 15 away games, and against a team, if you can find an angle to oppose Arsenal, especially at this kind of price, I think you should do it. So Newcastle to draw or win the match, so 0.5 on the Asian handicap, which is a way of ranking the teams and giving them a goal head start. So essentially, Dabblebet have got this at 0.5. You find it under the Asian handicap on the normal match page, which is essentially the same bet as double chance. So Newcastle win or a draw sees this one go in your favour. 17 to 20 on that, which is perfectly acceptable for me. To be honest, to get that on Arsenal not winning a 4th away game of the year, basically, I just can't see Newcastle putting in a performance that allows Arsenal to have an easy time. And everything that we've seen from Arsenal this year convinces me that they're not to be trusted away from home. They've burnt plenty of people's fingers at short odds, I think, this year, and they're kind of one of those acca busters where you go through and you put all the big teams at short odds into your coupon. I think this is a real, together with Chelsea, is a real kind of difficult one to call and one that I'm more than happy to take the other side of, to be honest.
On to our last game, Man United v West Brom. So, West Brom, rock bottom, and if they lose this, they're pretty much on the brink, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, they've been there for a little while, but I think mathematically the number is creeping up on them. They're 10 points off 17th with 5 games to go, so the end is near if you're West Brom. It's, they drew 1-1 with Swansea last time out, which is their first Premier League point since the 20th of January.
Really?
Which is, tells you all you need to know about the situation that they're in. It was 8 defeats in a row before that. So it's really, really difficult to trust them. Manchester United have been decent enough. They're on a good run of form. At the moment, they haven't conceded a goal to the current bottom half team this year, Manchester United at home. So if you take all their games at Old Trafford, it's 8 games. One of them they drew 0-0, the rest they've won 0, as it were, by keeping a clean sheet. The 0-0 against Southampton was the only exception to that. So looking at how West Brom have performed recently, it's really difficult to see them having too much joy. Mourinho knows how to strangle games. We talked about this last week, and he went about it a different way.
Unexpected.
I think that last 20 minutes in the first half really shook them into life, and they came out and obviously turned the game around massively, but that's not normally Mourinho's MO. He likes to beat teams by strangling the life out of the game. The Swansea example the week before was perfect. Got 2-0 up, and just that's it. Game over. Particularly against a team like West Brom that can't find a goal at the moment.
They've only scored 26 goals this season in the Premier League. West Brom, which is
horrible.
It's really appalling. So, what's your tip for this one?
It's a Manchester United win, but coupled with under 3.5 goals, so no more than 3 goals in the game. So it covers you for a Manchester United win 1-0, Manchester United win 2-0, and also the 2-1 as well. So if you are concerned about one lapse, you still get that built into the bet. It's 5 to 6. To me, that's much better than taking the 2 to 11 on Manchester United. Obviously, that's not really a working man's price, as it were. You're not going to get too many people backing United as a single bet at 2 to 11 unless short odds is your thing. I feel like the under 3.5 makes it more palatable, and it's won plenty of times. They've had a few 4-0 wins, but they were towards the beginning of the season. I think they won 3 games in a row 4-0, and people very, very excited about them at the start of the season, but they've kind of reverted to type, what we know about Mourinho. And given West Brom's inefficiency in front of goal, should we call it? I think away from home they've scored just 8 times this year. So although that goal tally's low, they've scored a lot more at the Hawthorns than they have on the road. So taking United to win either 1-0, 2-0 or 2-1 combined to that bet at 5 to 6 with the United and under 3.5 is the way to go, I think.
Excellent, thank you very much, Jim. You can find all the tips on the right hand side of the screen for all 5 games, plus there's the enhanced offer again, which is 5 to 1 for Spurs and Man City to score this weekend. It's an enhanced offer for new customers at Dabblebet. You can click on the link in the description if you're watching on YouTube, or you can click on the top comment if you're watching on Facebook. We're going to have a hiatus next week. We are. Because it's the FA Cup semi-final weekend.
And there's some pesky midweek Premier League games as well, which make it very difficult to preview the weekend.
But hopefully we'll be back at the end of the month with another edition of these, and hopefully we'll have some more winning tips.
Fingers crossed.
Thanks very much, guys.